story about Joseph. And this story today is called The Fat and the Lean Cows. And this picture shows Joseph before Pharaoh, explaining the meaning of Pharaoh's dream. So let's see what's going on in Joseph's world back in the day. Every day after the butler left the prison, Joseph must have gone to the window to watch for him. You know how you watch when you are expecting someone? Well, Joseph was sure the butler would remember him. He might have to wait a long time, but he was going to keep watching until someone came for him. For 2 years, Joseph waited. Then one day, he saw some men running towards the prison. They seemed to be in a great hurry, and as soon as the men reached the prison, they called for Joseph and told him that Pharaoh the king wanted to see him. "Don't keep Pharaoh waiting," they said. Joseph was in a hurry to leave the prison. But when he went to the palace, he wished to be clean. So he knew that everyone likes clean boys better than dirty ones. So he stopped to wash and put on fresh clothes before going before the king, before going before the Pharaoh. And Pharaoh had had a queer, unusual dream. He was worried about it too. No one in all the country could tell him what his dream meant. Then the chief butler remembered Joseph, and he went straight to Pharaoh and told him about the wonderful man that was in prison who could tell people what their dreams meant. If Joseph understood dreams, Pharaoh decided he must see him at once. So he sent for him. "You and I do not worry about our dreams. We don't think they are even worth remembering. If you or I had dreamed that we stood by the side of a river and saw 7 fine, fat cows come out of the water, we would not have thought anything about it. But if 7 lean, sickly cows followed them and ate up the fat ones and were still leaner, we surely would have been astonished. Cows do not eat meat, they eat grass." So when Pharaoh in his dream saw the 7 hungry-looking cows eating 7 fat cows, he was sure it meant something, and it did. Joseph told him that the 7 fat cows meant that Egypt was to have 7 prosperous years. Prosperous means having all that you want of everything. And after the 7 years of plenty, there would come 7 years of a great famine. And those seven miserable, starved-looking cows that the king saw in his dream meant that a dreadful famine was coming to Egypt. There isn't a little child here who knows what a famine is, because every one of you gets enough to eat when this book was written. I'm not so sure that's entirely true now. Suppose sometimes when you were hungry, there was nothing in your house at all to eat. And if you went to the grocery, the market, or the bakery and asked for something to eat, the clerks would shake their heads and tell you there was no food in any of the shops. And perhaps they would let you peek into the empty drawer or try to find something on the bare shelves. You could find no food anywhere. The clouds were keeping all the rain to themselves instead of giving to the thirsty earth to drink. Every green thing that grows out of the ground had died because it could not have a drink. And when things are that way, there is a famine in the country. For 7 years, the people of Egypt were to be hungry, but Joseph told them what to do. While they had plenty to eat, the people should save their food instead of wasting it. When the winter wheat grew tall every summer, the farmer should cut it down, but don't grind it all up into flour, Joseph told them. He told them to build large stone storehouses and fill them full of wheat. Every kind of food that could be packed away was to be put in those storehouses. And when the long famine time came, Egypt would have something to eat. The people wouldn't starve. So the people of the other countries would be hungry because they had not stored away any food. Do you think Joseph went back to prison after he told Pharaoh what his dream meant? Well, don't you bet on it. Because no, indeed, he did not. Pharaoh gave Joseph some clothes just like his own. He put on a gold chain around his neck, some bling there, and took the ring from his own finger and put it on Joseph's finger. Pharaoh thought that a man as wise as Joseph should rule over all of the country. So he made him ruler over Egypt, and Joseph was now a great man. He lived in a big house, wore fine clothes, and rode in the handsome chariot next after the king. And everybody obeyed Joseph. Pretty remarkable for a boy who was sold into slavery as we've read about earlier in the book, in the story, Joseph was a miracle. And he was a miracle because of God being with him and him being with God. And when the hungry time came, the people from other countries went to Egypt to buy food. An old man in another country grew very hungry. He had 11 sons who were very hungry too. And their cattle and their sheep were dying. There was no grass or hay for them to eat. What should they do? And the old man was Joseph's father, Jacob. Now he heard there was a great man in Egypt who was selling food to hungry people. He did not know that this great man was his lost son, Joseph, who he loved so much that he gave him that special coat, remember, of many colors. He and his sons and their families must have food right away, or they would all die. So Jacob sent 10 of his sons down to Egypt to buy wheat for food. Then these 10 sons were Joseph's wicked brothers who had sold him into Egypt, but the brothers had forgotten all about Joseph by that time. They didn't think about him anymore. All they thought about was buying food to keep themselves, their little children, and their herds from dying. Of the brothers, off went the brothers to Egypt with their donkeys and their empty sacks, and soon came to Joseph's palace. As soon as the 10 men saw Joseph, they jumped down from their donkeys and lay flat on the ground before him. Here were all Joseph's hungry brothers, kneeling before him, not knowing it, and asking him to sell them something to eat. Now he knew his brothers, but they did not know him. He remembered the time when he was a boy and lay asleep in the fields with his brothers. He remembered the queer dream he had had, that dream in which all of his brothers' sheaves of wheat came and lay down before him, flat on the ground. And so, as we see, Joseph's dream came true. Next time, we're going to read a really, really special part of Joseph's life as he forgives his brothers, and I'll bet you maybe reunited with his dad, his father. Hope you enjoyed the story. Love you all very much, and hope to see you again very, very soon. God bless you.